The heavy oak door swung open without a sound. I froze in the doorway, a surprise lunchbox clutched tightly in my hand. Juan's face drained of color, his phone clattering onto his mahogany desk. "You weren't supposed to be here," he blurted, leaping to his feet. The room smelled of a perfume I didn't recognize, jasmine with a hint of vanilla. Not something I'd ever wear. My eyes flicked to the half-empty wine glasses on his desk, then to his tousled hair and the lipstick smudge on his collar. "My name is Jessica Sullivan, 32, financial analyst at Meridian Investments. For 8 years, I'd been married to Juan Morales, senior partner at Pierce & Holden Law Firm. We lived in our renovated Victorian on Boston's Beacon Hill, with our golden retriever and plans to start a family next year." "I thought I'd surprise you with lunch," I said, my voice unnervingly steady. The lunchbox suddenly felt heavy in my hands. "But it seems you've already had company." Juan straightened his tie, trying to regain composure. "It was just a client meeting, Jess. You should have called." The bathroom door clicked softly. I held my breath as a tall woman with caramel hair stepped out, buttoning her blazer. She froze when she saw me. "Oh," she said, her manicured fingers pausing mid-button. "I didn't realize anyone else was here." Juan cleared his throat. "Melissa, this is my wife, Jessica." "Jessica, this is Melissa Carter, a new client." Melissa's eyes widened slightly before she forced a smile. "Pleasure to meet you." "Juan's been very helpful with my case." I nodded, numbness spreading through my chest. "I'm sure he has." My phone buzzed in my pocket, a reminder for my 2 p.m. meeting. Perfect timing. "I need to get back to work," I said, setting the lunchbox on his desk. "Enjoy your lunch, Juan. Nice meeting you, Melissa." I walked out with my head high, shoulders straight, heels clicking against the marble. Once in the elevator, I pressed the lobby button and let my hand tremble. The security guard nodded as I passed. "Everything all right, Mrs. Morales?" he asked. "Yes, Frank," I replied, fishing out my sunglasses. "Just forgot something important at the office." I slid into my car in the visitor section, opened my phone and marked the date, April 15th, the day I discovered my husband's affair. I didn't return to the office. Instead, I parked by the harbor watching the boats sway. 8 years of marriage, 3 cities, countless Instagram-perfect dinners and vacations, all a lie. The numbness gave way to something sharper. I retrieved the small voice recorder I'd started carrying 3 weeks ago when Juan's late nights became suspicious. I pressed play. "You weren't supposed to be here." The panic in his voice was unmistakable. I replayed it again and again, each time something inside me hardening. Unknown to him, I'd installed a tracking app on his phone the previous month. Melissa Carter wasn't just any woman. She was the law firm's newest associate, transferred from Chicago 6 months ago. And this wasn't their first meeting. That evening, I prepared his favorite dinner, grilled salmon with asparagus and wild rice. I uncorked an expensive Chardonnay and set our wedding china on the table. At 7:42 p.m., the front door opened. "Jess, you home?" he called from the hall. "Yes," I answered lightly. He appeared in the doorway, briefcase in hand, eyes darting around the room before settling on me. "What's all this for?" he asked cautiously. I smiled. "No special reason. Just felt like cooking tonight." He set his briefcase down, approaching as if testing thin ice. He kissed my cheek, lingering too long. "About today?" he started. "You must be hungry," I interrupted, gesturing to the chair. "The salmon will get cold." He sat, watching me serve the meal, eyes scanning for any sign of weakness. "How was your day?" I asked, sipping wine. "Busy morning, then meetings all afternoon?" he replied. "All afternoon?" I echoed innocently. He nodded, cutting into his salmon. "The winter case is getting complicated, I bet." "And how's Melissa settling in at the firm?" His fork paused midair. "Fine, I guess." "Why?" he asked cautiously. "Just curious." "She seemed nice." Juan took a slow sip of his wine. "She's smart. Good lawyer. Pierce is impressed with her work." "I'm sure he is," I murmured, twirling the stem of my glass. "Did she just move to Boston?" 6 months ago from Chicago," he frowned. "Why all the questions about Melissa?" I shrugged. "Just making conversation. Silence settled between us as we ate. Our golden retriever, Sadie, padded into the room and curled up beneath the table at my feet. "I'm sorry about today," Juan finally said. "I should have told you she was coming in for lunch and wine." I raised an eyebrow. "It was a working lunch?" "The wine was her idea, to celebrate a motion we won." I dabbed my lips with a napkin and nodded. "Of course." After dinner, Juan loaded the dishwasher, his wordless form of apology. I retreated to our bedroom, changed into silk pajamas, and sat at my vanity removing my makeup. In the mirror, I saw him enter quietly behind me. He slipped his arms around my waist, nuzzling my neck. "You look beautiful tonight," he murmured. I met his gaze in the mirror. "Do I always?" His hands moved slowly up my sides. "Let me show you how much I love you." I turned to face him, placing my palms against his chest. "I'm really tired tonight." "Big presentation tomorrow." Disappointment flickered across his face before he nodded. "Of course. Get some rest." Later in the darkness, I listened to his even breathing beside me while my mind spun with calculations. Part of me wanted to shake him awake, demand the truth. But the strategist in me, the financial analyst who managed million-dollar portfolios, knew better. I needed evidence. I needed a plan. I needed leverage. Silently, I reached for my phone on the nightstand. The tracking app showed his movements for the day. Office from 8 a.m. to noon. Then a gap. GPS turned off between 12:01 and 2:30 p.m. Before returning to the office until 7:15, I opened our joint account. A lunch charge at Bistro Vado, $147.89 at 1:22 p.m., more than 2 entrees would cost. Next, I checked our phone bill. 17 text messages and 3 calls to the same number in a week. I took screenshots and emailed them to myself. Tomorrow, I'd begin phase 1. What Juan didn't know was that I had already contacted a private investigator that afternoon, Caroline Weaver, a former FBI agent specializing in infidelity cases. In my office drawer sat a thumb drive containing all our financial records, real estate documents, and information on a secret bank account I'd opened 3 years ago, back when Juan's first late meeting had smelled faintly of perfume. The next morning, I left early, kissing him on the cheek as he mumbled sleepily. "Have a good day, honey," I said brightly. "Don't work too hard." By 9 a.m., I was sitting across from Caroline Weaver in a quiet coffee shop 10 blocks from my office. She was compact, with short gray hair and sharp, perceptive eyes. "3 weeks of surveillance," she said, sliding a contract across the table. "It'll cost you, but you'll get everything. Photos, videos, locations, timestamps. Enough for any divorce court in Massachusetts." I signed without hesitation. I need to know everything. Who she is, how long it's been going on, if there are others. Caroline tucked the contract into her leather portfolio. "People rarely hide affairs as well as they think. Men especially leave trails." She handed me her card. "Text me when he leaves the house tomorrow. Saturdays get the best results." At work, I delivered my presentation flawlessly, answering questions with calm precision. No one could have guessed my marriage was collapsing. During lunch, I called my college roommate, Natalie Kim, now a top divorce attorney in New York. "Document everything," she advised. "Access to bank accounts, property deeds, investments. Copy it all before he suspects a thing. And whatever you do, don't move out of the house." "He hasn't admitted anything yet," I said. "Maybe I'm overreacting." Natalie's laugh was sharp. "Jess, you literally walked in on them. Trust your instincts." That evening, Juan texted that he'd be home late. "Client dinner," he claimed. But the tracking app placed him at Loom's Own Blue, one of the most romantic restaurants in Boston's North End. I cooked dinner for myself, fed Sadie, then went upstairs to our shared home office. Juan's laptop sat closed on his desk. I hesitated only a moment before opening it. Password protected. Of course. I tried our wedding date. Incorrect. His birthday. Incorrect. My birthday. Incorrect. I glanced at the framed photo on his desk, Juan with his parents at their Napa Valley vineyard. On a hunch, I typed Vino Moreno 2015 Me, the name and vintage of the first wine his family produced. The screen unlocked. My hands trembled slightly as I opened his email. Nothing incriminating in the inbox. I checked sent messages, then drafts. Still nothing. Next, I scanned his browser history, mostly legal research sites, sports scores, Amazon orders. Then I saw it. A search for Boston jewelry stores, engagement rings. My stomach dropped. He was buying another woman an engagement ring. But then I realized the search was from last week. Our anniversary was next month. Guilt washed over me briefly, then vanished as I remembered the lipstick on his collar, the wine glasses, the smell of jasmine perfume. I opened his cloud storage account. Hundreds of folders labeled with client names, nothing under Melissa. Just as I was about to give up, a folder labeled M caught my eye. Inside were dozens of photos. Melissa in a bikini on a beach, Melissa sleeping in an unfamiliar bed, Melissa and Juan together at what looked like a cabin in the woods. Timestamps stretched back 4 months. I forwarded everything to my personal email and carefully closed the laptop, exactly as I'd found it. Downstairs, I poured a generous glass of wine and called Caroline. "He's with her right now," I said without preamble. "Loom's own Blue, North End." "On my way," Caroline replied. "Don't do anything yet. Evidence gathering only." At 11:37 p.m., Juan came home, smelling of scotch and the same jasmine perfume. I pretended to be asleep as he showered and slid into bed. My phone vibrated with a text from Caroline. "Got everything. Meeting tomorrow, 2 a.m. What he didn't know as he slept beside me was that I had discovered he'd purchased a cabin in New Hampshire 6 months ago, a romantic getaway missing from our joint assets or tax filings. The deed buried in his cloud storage was in his name only. The perfect hideaway for a man leading a double life. Saturday morning, I greeted him with fresh coffee and a warm smile. "I'm thinking of visiting my sister in New York this weekend," I said casually. "Could use a girl's getaway." Relief flickered across his face. "That sounds perfect, babe. You deserve a break. You don't mind? I'd leave this afternoon and be back Monday evening." "Not at all," he said, kissing my forehead. "I've got that brief to finish anyway. I'll probably just order takeout and work all weekend." I nodded sympathetically. "You work too hard." 2 hours later, I sat in Caroline Weaver's small office, reviewing photos from the previous night. Juan and Melissa entering Loom's own Blue, holding hands across the table, him giving her a small blue box, the engagement ring I'd seen in his search history, then kissing in the parking lot before driving separate ways. "There's more," Caroline said, pulling up a document on her computer. "Melissa Carter isn't just his colleague. She was his client first. Divorce finalized 8 months ago. That's how they met." My throat tightened. "She left her husband for him?" "Looks that way. And this," she added, handing me a printout, "he's been moving money. Not huge amounts, but consistent transfers to an account in New Hampshire." "About $2,000 a month for the cabin," I murmured. Caroline raised an eyebrow. "You know about that?" "Found it in his cloud storage. He bought it 6 months ago. Never mentioned it to me. They spent last weekend there." She showed me more photos. Juan and Melissa arriving at a rustic cabin nestled among pine trees. "Want me to keep digging?" I nodded. "Everything you can find. And I need you to follow him today." "He thinks I'm going to New York." Caroline checked her watch. "Where is he now?" "Home, supposedly working." "Perfect. Go home. Pack a bag like you're really leaving. I'll be parked down the street." At home, Juan helped carry my overnight bag to the car. "Have fun with Diane," he said, kissing me goodbye. "Will do. Don't work too hard." "Okay," he smiled, already checking his phone. I drove away, circled the block, then parked on a side street with a clear view of our house. 20 minutes later, Juan emerged carrying his gym bag and a bottle of wine. He got into his Audi and drove off. Caroline texted, following. "Go back in the house if you need anything." "He'll be gone a while." Inside, I went straight to his closet. The gym bag he'd taken wasn't his usual one. His regular bag sat untouched in the corner. I opened his sock drawer where he kept his passport and found a small leather case I'd never seen before. Inside was a platinum men's wedding band, different from the one he wore with me. My phone pinged with a text from Caroline. Heading north on I-95. Likely the cabin. I continued my search. Nightstand, home office, garage. In the storage closet behind seldom-used golf clubs, I discovered a locked metal box. The key on his keychain, which he claimed was for his office filing cabinet, fit perfectly. Inside were documents for the New Hampshire cabin, another set of car keys, and a life insurance policy I'd never seen before, with Melissa listed as the beneficiary. My hands shook with rage. This wasn't just an affair, it was a parallel life. I photographed everything, then carefully replaced it as I found it. Next, I went to our home safe and removed our wills, insurance policies, and jewelry, including my grandmother's diamonds. All went into a safety deposit box at a bank Juan didn't know about. My phone rang. Caroline, they're at the cabin. Want me to set up surveillance equipment? Yes, I need audio too, not just video. Cost isn't an issue. I want everything. I spent the next hours transferring funds from our joint accounts to my private one, staying under alert limits. I copied tax returns, investment statements, and property records. By evening, I had a complete financial picture and a shocking discovery. Juan had been systematically skimming from our joint accounts for years, small amounts I hadn't noticed. The total exceeded $175,000. Combined with the cabin's value, he had hidden nearly $400,000 from our marital assets. At 10 p.m., Caroline called with a video link. Footage showed Juan and Melissa in the cabin's living room, drinking wine on a bearskin rug before the fireplace. When are you going to tell her? Melissa asked, running her fingers through Juan's hair. After the Westover case settles, the firm's getting a huge payout, and I don't want her lawyer using that in the divorce. You promise? Melissa pouted. I'm tired of being your secret. Juan kissed her deeply. You're not my secret. You're my future. Jessica was a stepping stone. You're my destination. I shut off the video, a strange calm settling over me. Now, I knew everything I needed. What Juan didn't realize as he planned his future with Melissa was that I had already met with his managing partner, Gerald Pierce, earlier that week, ostensibly for investment advice. During our friendly lunch, Pierce had mentioned how impressed they were with Juan's work on the Westover case, a case that, according to Juan's secret files, involved embezzlement he himself had helped cover up. Sunday evening, I returned home with shopping bags and a relaxed smile. Juan had beaten me back by an hour according to Caroline's surveillance. How was New York? He asked, looking up from his laptop at the kitchen island. Wonderful. Diane and I had the best time. I set down my bags and kissed his cheek. How was your weekend? Get that brief finished. Almost. He closed his laptop. I missed you. Did you? I smiled, unpacking groceries. I brought your favorite bagels from that deli you like. Juan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then quickly turned it face down. Thanks, babe. You're the best. I thought we could have a nice dinner tomorrow night, I suggested. I'll make reservations at Soralina. Sounds perfect. What's the occasion? I met his eyes steadily. Do I need one to have dinner with my husband? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Of course not. That night, I sent an encrypted email to Natalie with all the evidence I'd gathered. Her response came within an hour. This is better than we could have hoped for. The financial evidence alone is enough for a favorable settlement. The affair is just icing. When do you want to serve him? Not yet, I replied. There's more to uncover about the Westover case. Monday morning, I dressed carefully in my most powerful outfit. Charcoal pencil skirt, crisp white blouse, red blazer. At breakfast, Juan barely looked up from his phone. Don't forget dinner at Soralina tonight, I reminded him. I made reservations for 7. I'll be there, he promised. Grabbing his briefcase. Have a great day. After he left, I called Gerald Pierce's office. Jessica. What a pleasant surprise, Gerald said when he came on the line. I was hoping you might have time for coffee this morning. There's an investment opportunity I'd like to discuss with you. Always. Shall we say 10 at the Capitol Grill? Perfect. Thank you, Gerald. At the restaurant, he greeted me warmly. We chatted about the market, his grandchildren, my work at Meridian. When coffee arrived, I leaned in slightly. Gerald, I've come across some concerning documents regarding the Westover case. His smile froze. Oh? Yes. It seems there may be some irregularities in how the funds were handled. I noticed because one of my clients at Meridian has substantial investments in Westover Industries. Gerald's face paled. What exactly did you see, Jessica? I sipped my coffee. Enough to be concerned. I thought you should know before anyone else becomes aware. These documents, he said carefully. Where did you find them? Let's just say they were accessible to me. The question is, what do we do now? I'd hate for Pearson Holden's reputation to be damaged. Gerald studied me for a long moment. What are you suggesting? I believe Juan has been handling the case directly. Perhaps a review of his work by another partner would be prudent, of course discreetly. I see. Gerald nodded slowly. Yes, that would be the responsible course of action. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Jessica. I smiled. Of course. We're practically family, after all. From there, I went to my office and performed my duties flawlessly, all while monitoring my phone for updates. Caroline texted at noon. He's meeting with senior partners now. Looks tense. Melissa's been called in too. At 3:01 p.m., my phone rang. Hey, I answered casually. Jess, I need to cancel dinner tonight. Emergency at the office. Everything okay? He hesitated. Just a case issue. Might be here all night. No problem. We can reschedule. Thanks for understanding. I'll make it up to you. After we hung up, Caroline called. They've seized his laptop and phone. He's in Pierce's office with the firm's general counsel. And Melissa's in a separate conference room with HR. I smiled. Perfect. Time for phase 2. That evening, I waited until 8 p.m., then drove to Pearson Holden. The security guard recognized me immediately. Evening, Mrs. Morales. Mr. Morales is still here if you're looking for him. Yes, Frank. He's expecting me. 11th floor, right? That's right, ma'am. Upstairs. The office was mostly dark except for the conference room at the end of the hall. Through the glass walls, I could see Juan sitting at the table surrounded by senior partners and the firm's general counsel. Documents were spread across the table under the cold fluorescent light. I straightened my shoulders and walked calmly toward the room. The conversation inside stopped abruptly when I opened the door. Jessica, Juan said, standing quickly. What are you doing here? Gerald Pierce rose to greet me. Jessica, thank you for coming. Please join us. Juan looked between us, confusion giving way to dawning horror. What's going on? I took a seat at the table. I believe we're discussing the Westover case, aren't we, Gerald? The general counsel cleared her throat. Mrs. Morales, we were just reviewing some discrepancies in the case files that Mr. Morales managed. I see, I said calmly. And have you come to any conclusions? This is a private firm matter, Juan interrupted. You shouldn't be here. Gerald raised a hand. Actually, Juan, Jessica's insight has been invaluable. She brought certain irregularities to our attention that warranted immediate investigation. The blood drained from Juan's face. You did what? I met his eyes steadily. I did what was necessary. Mrs. Morales, the general counsel continued, the documents you provided show systematic mishandling of client funds, funds that were apparently diverted into personal accounts. That's a lie. Juan slammed his hand on the table. Jessica, what have you done? Gerald sighed. Juan, we've verified the transactions. They match the firm's records. There's really no point in denying it. Juan slumped back in his chair. This is a mistake. I can explain everything. I certainly hope so, Gerald said. Because right now it looks like embezzlement. What Juan didn't realize as he sat trapped in that conference room was that I had already filed for divorce that morning, with a temporary restraining order preventing him from accessing our joint assets. And while he was desperately trying to save his career, I was executing the final phase of my plan, one that would ensure he'd never again enjoy the comfortable life he'd built on lies. The next morning, I woke early in our guest bedroom. I'd slept better than I had in months. Juan hadn't come home at all. My phone buzzed with a text from Caroline. He spent the night at a hotel alone. Melissa's apartment is empty too. Keep tracking both. Let me know if they meet. I fed Sadie, made coffee, and opened my laptop to check the news. There it was on the legal site, above the law. Partner at Pearson Holden under investigation for financial irregularities. The article didn't name Juan specifically, but everyone in Boston's legal circles would know. I forwarded the link to Natalie with a simple message. It's happening. At 9 a.m., I met with my bank manager to remove Juan from all our accounts. By noon, I'd changed the locks on the house. At 2 p.m., I sat across from Natalie in her makeshift Boston office, reviewing divorce papers. This is one of the strongest cases I've seen, she said. Financial fraud, infidelity, secret property. The judge will crucify him. I don't want a long public battle. I want this over quickly, I replied. Trust me. Once his lawyer sees what we have, they'll be begging for settlement terms. Natalie leaned forward. Jessica, are you sure you want to go this hard? You could destroy his career completely. He didn't just betray our marriage, I said. He betrayed his professional ethics, his firm, and his clients. Actions have consequences. My phone rang. Juan. I declined the call. Seconds later, a text. Jessica, please. We need to talk. What have you done? I showed Natalie the message. Don't respond, she advised. Everything thrown at you now is manipulation. My phone buzzed again. This time, Gerald Pierce. Gerald, I answered. How are you, Jessica? This is quite a situation, he said, sounding tired. Juan has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The management committee meets tomorrow to discuss termination. I understand. I'm sorry it came to this. Are you? He asked. I can't help but wonder if this was your plan all along, Gerald. I discovered my husband was living a double life. The financial improprieties were just part of a larger pattern of deception. I did what any responsible person would do. He sighed. Yes, I suppose you did. For what it's worth, I think you're handling this with remarkable composure. After hanging up, I met with a private security team I'd hired. They would monitor the house and ensure Juan couldn't enter without permission. New cameras, new security system, the lead guard explained. Any attempt to enter will trigger immediate response. By evening, Juan had called 17 times and sent dozens of texts, each more desperate than the last. Please talk to me. I can explain everything. You're ruining my life. This is a misunderstanding. You've completely overreacted. Finally, I texted a single message. All communication through my attorney, Natalie Kim. 12-556-789. 10 minutes later, Natalie called. His lawyer just reached out. They want to meet tomorrow. Fast work, I smiled. Let's do it. That night, I ordered dinner from my favorite restaurant and ate peacefully on our patio. Caroline texted updates throughout the evening. Juan met with his lawyer at the Hilton. 3 hours, checked into the same hotel again, different room. Melissa spotted leaving Pearson Holden with a box of personal items, crying. The next morning, I dressed in a navy blue suit, conservative but confident. The meeting was set for 10 a.m. at Natalie's temporary office. Juan arrived with his lawyer, Howard Stern, a bulldog divorce attorney known for aggressive tactics. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Unshaven, shirt wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. Jessica, he said when he saw me. I nodded coolly but said nothing. Natalie gestured to the conference table. Shall we begin? Howard opened with bluster. My client categorically denies any financial wrongdoing in your marriage. These accusations are malicious attempts to leverage a more favorable divorce settlement. Natalie smiled. Interesting position. Let's review the evidence, shall we? She slid a thick folder across the table. These are bank records showing systematic transfers from joint accounts to Mr. Morales' hidden accounts in New Hampshire. Here are property records for a cabin purchased without Mrs. Morales' knowledge. And these, she tapped another folder, are our records of a life insurance policy naming his mistress as beneficiary. Howard flipped through the documents, his expression darkening. As for the professional misconduct, Natalie continued, that's between Mr. Morales and his firm. though I understand criminal charges may be forthcoming. Juan leapt to his feet. This is insane! Jessica, what do you want from me? I finally spoke. The truth would have been nice. 8 years ago I made mistakes, he said, voice breaking. But I love you. The thing with Melissa, it's not what you think. You bought her an engagement ring with our money, I said flatly. You told her I was a stepping stone. You hid hundreds of thousands of dollars from our marriage. Please, tell me what part I'm misunderstanding. Juan sank back into his chair, defeated. Howard cleared his throat. Perhaps we can discuss settlement terms. Natalie outlined our demands. The house, 75% of all marital assets, my complete retirement accounts, and full ownership of our investment properties. Juan would keep his personal possessions, his car, and whatever remained of his career. This is highway robbery, Howard protested weakly. It's generous considering the circumstances, Natalie countered. Mrs. Morales could pursue criminal charges for the financial fraud. She's choosing not to for now. Howard leaned over to whisper to Juan, who nodded miserably. We'll need time to review these terms, Howard said. You have until 5 p.m. today, Natalie replied. After that, we proceed with litigation and contact the district attorney about the missing funds. As they stood to leave, Juan turned to me. Can we talk just for a minute, please? Natalie raised an eyebrow. I nodded. 1 minute. Once alone, Juan's composure crumbled. Jessica, I never meant to hurt you. Things with Melissa just happened. Things don't just happen, Juan. You made choices every day for months. You chose to lie to me. I was going to tell you after you drained our accounts, after you'd set up your new life, after you discarded me like yesterday's trash. I shook my head. You don't get to rewrite the story. What do you want me to say? He asked desperately. Nothing. There's nothing left to say. Sign the papers. Move on with Melissa if she'll still have you after all this. His face darkened. You've destroyed everything. My career, my reputation. No, Juan, you did that all by yourself. What Juan didn't realize as he stormed out was that I had recorded our entire conversation, capturing his implicit admission of the financial fraud. And while he met with his lawyer to surrender in our divorce, I was finalizing the purchase of a small vacation cottage in Maine, my fresh start, funded with the money I'd saved in my secret account over the years. By 4:30 p.m., Howard Stern had called Natalie to accept our terms. Juan would sign everything in exchange for a non-disclosure agreement, preventing me from speaking publicly about his misconduct. He's desperate to salvage what's left of his reputation, Natalie told me. His silence for yours, I nodded. I have no interest in a public spectacle. I just want what's mine. The next morning, I received a call from Melissa Carter. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Jessica, she said. Her voice strained. I know you hate me, but please, just listen. I'm listening. I never knew about the money, she rushed on. The firm fired me yesterday. I can't even get a reference. My career is over. That sounds like a personal problem, I replied coolly. He told me you were separated, she continued. He said you were just waiting for the right time to announce it. I believed him, I laughed softly. And the cabin, the secret bank accounts, the engagement ring, were those all just innocent misunderstandings too? She was silent for a moment. I was stupid, she finally admitted. But I'm not the villain here. Juan deceived both of us. Perhaps, I said, but you are willing to build your happiness on the ruins of my marriage. That makes you complicit, her voice cracked. I don't know what to do now. Everything's gone. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the photos. Melissa in my husband's arms wearing the engagement ring that should have been my anniversary gift. You're young, Melissa. You'll recover. Consider this an expensive life lesson. Never trust a man who's willing to betray his wife. After hanging up, I drove to my house. The security team had reported that Juan had attempted to enter the previous night but left when confronted. Inside, I began reclaiming my space. I packed Juan's clothes into boxes for donation, removed his photographs from the walls, and transformed the master bedroom. New bedding, curtains, and rugs. By evening, the house had become my sanctuary. I ordered Thai food, opened a bottle of wine, and sat on the patio with Sadie at my feet. My phone buzzed with a text from Caroline. "Thought you'd want to know. Juan's been officially terminated from Pearson Holden. Press release goes out tomorrow." The next day, I met with my financial advisor to reorganize my assets. The divorce settlement would be finalized within weeks, leaving me financially secure for life. I discussed my plans to take a sabbatical from work, maybe travel for a while. "You've been through a lot," my advisor said. "Taking time for yourself is wise." On my way home, I drove past Pearson Holden. A security guard was escorting Juan from the building, a box of personal items in his arms. He looked broken, shoulders slumped, head down. For a brief moment, our eyes met through the car window. I didn't slow down. That weekend, I visited the cottage I'd purchased in Maine, a charming 2-bedroom overlooking a quiet lake. The realtor handed me the keys. "It's all yours," she said cheerfully. "No one knows about it but us." I walked through the rooms, breathing in the scent of pine and fresh paint. This was mine alone. No lies, no betrayal, no ghosts. On Sunday evening, back in Boston, Natalie called with news. Juan's lawyer wanted to amend the agreement. "He was asking for more money. He says he's unemployable now," she added. I considered this. "What do you recommend?" "Tell him to pound sand. You've got him over a barrel." "I'll think about it." That night, sitting in my reimagined living room, I realized I felt no anger, no hurt, just a calm certainty. I had reclaimed my life. The next morning, I called Natalie. "Tell Juan he can have the car and an additional $50,000. But he signs everything else as agreed and leaves Boston permanently." "You're being generous," she said. Surprised. "It's not generosity," I replied. "It's closure." Later that week, a handwritten letter arrived from Juan. Words cannot express my regret, not just for being caught, but for betraying the one person who always believed in me. What began as a simple flirtation became an addiction to deception. I convinced myself I deserved more when in truth I deserved nothing. You were never a stepping stone. You were the foundation I foolishly destroyed. By the time you read this, I'll be gone from Boston. Not because of your demand, but because I cannot bear to remain in the city where I lost everything that mattered. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm simply acknowledging that you won completely and deservedly in the game I foolishly started. You emerged not just victorious, but magnificent. I read it twice, then placed it in my desk drawer. No tears, no regrets. 2 days later, the final divorce papers arrived. I signed them without hesitation and returned them to Natalie. "Congratulations," she said when she called to confirm receipt. "You're officially free." That evening, I hosted a small dinner party for my closest friends, those who had supported me through the darkest days. We drank champagne and laughed under the stars on my patio. "To new beginnings," my friend Rachel toasted. "And to the truth," I added, however painful it might be. Later, after everyone had gone, I sat alone in the quiet house, Sadie resting at my feet. On my laptop, I opened the document I'd been working on, plans for a 3-month journey through Europe. No deadlines, no expectations, just exploration and healing. I thought about Juan, probably driving west or south, away from the wreckage of his life. I thought about Melissa, learning the hard way that relationships built on lies crumble under their weight. I thought about the woman I was 8 years ago, trusting, naive, desperate for approval. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, wiser, and finally, genuinely free. I closed my laptop and looked up at the stars. The future stretched before me, uncertain but full of possibility. For the first time in years, I couldn't wait to discover what came next. In the end, Juan's betrayal hadn't destroyed me. It had liberated me, and that perhaps was the most perfect revenge of all. During those first painful days after discovering his betrayal, I'd wondered if I would ever feel whole again. Now I knew the answer. I was more complete standing alone than I had ever been in the shadow of a lie. My story wasn't ending. It was just beginning.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.